Hey there, this is Andy, and in today's video we're bringing firewood into the basement. So typically, I don't get around to bringing firewood in until a little bit closer in October, and it's really only end of September now, so I'm a bit ahead of schedule for once. Now typically we light our first fires around now, and I bring in a few armloads because I'm not quite ready. But I cleaned up the basement and I'm ready to bring in wood. And part of that is because part of this wood pile fell down, and I want to get it in while it's still dry before we get another rainstorm. So last week in the mid-afternoon I had the window cracked open in my office, and I heard this crash, bang, boom, and tin falling down. And I thought, well, that was kind of odd. So I came out to check. Kylie was out here, wanted to make sure she didn't get crushed by the wood or something, because I knew she was transplanting some things, moving plants around. And anyway, she was fine, but the wood pile fell down. We lost like half of the first row on the second pile here. We've got about 4 or 5 cords stacked behind me, and one whole row toppled over. And that's because our hound Spud has been playing on top of the pile when he gets out of his pen, and he gets up there, sniffs around, walks around. Well, anyways, it caused the pile to lean a little bit, and it now fell over. So now that that's laying on the ground, it's at least seasoned for a whole year, and it's ready to go into the basement. So a couple weeks earlier, before I was ready to take on this project, but I at least want to get that up while it's dry and before we get more rain, to keep it in good burning condition. So that's today's task. I got a wheelbarrow, gonna grab my work gloves, pop in a podcast, and start hauling it into the basement. Cool when the wind blows, hot when it doesn't. Load number 1. So one of the things that makes storing our wood inside the house possible is this ramp right here. When we built the house in 2017, we designed it such that we could get in and out with the wheelbarrow. Now, some homes have a walkout basement, and that's great, but ours is not. Ours is a traditional, and but I decided to add in a ramp to have access to the basement via a wheeled vehicle like a wheelbarrow. My dad has a ramp in his basement, very similar to this, a little bit shorter, and his only goes up like 4 feet based on his elevation around the house, which is really cool. And after he did that to bring in firewood for the same reasons, I thought that's a genius idea, and I like it too. That way I don't have to go outside in the wintertime to bring in cold, wet wood. That's just not fun to do in the winter. When it's cold outside, you want to stay inside where it's warm, it's cozy, and the wood is warm and cozy and easily accessible, and you don't have to go out into the elements to go get it. So we like to store our wood inside, and we can do that by this ramp. I can't remember exactly how steep this is. I wouldn't want to go any steeper than it is, because it is steep enough. You wouldn't want to go up and down it with a wheelbarrow any more grade than that. It is 16 feet deep, and it goes up 6.5, 7 feet, so you could figure that out. But it's not too bad, it's manageable. And I used a couple old snowmobile tracks as traction strips because otherwise just the decking would get rather slippery. Another side feature is that I didn't want to waste any space, so just this spring, I built a little trap door so I can hop underneath there and use it for storage for stuff that I don't need access to all the time. And so some of the things that are in there is like wiggle wire for the greenhouse and a bunch of like plumbing and electrical stuff. So there's like there's like PEX tubing and stuff like that that you need access to, but not very often. So that's the perfect spot to stash that stuff. It doesn't need to be taking up nice space in the basement. So got a little access hatch there underneath my ramp. But that's the quick story on the ramp today that makes hauling firewood into our basement super easy. So part of storing the wood in the basement means you need to have a spot in the basement to put it. So the first year as we were building, I didn't have anything down here. It was just spray foam insulation walls, so I had to stack stuff very carefully. Actually, the first winter we didn't even have spray foam insulation yet, because while we were building, and I was able to tuck some of the wood between the studs, and that kept it from falling over. But then once we got spray foam, I didn't want to ding all that up, so I had to build walls. So I had to stack up the end walls of the firewood so it didn't fall over. That works fine, and I'm pretty good at it, but it does take a while because it's a puzzle, times 3 rows, times both ends, so you gotta make 6 puzzles, 7 feet high, and it works but slows down the process. So one thing that I wanted to do this spring was build some end walls, and actually that's what I did last year. Last year I built these end walls to contain it, so I didn't have to stack up, build up end walls. That was the next year. The next year I got the end walls in and I added that tin to help as a backstop. Beautiful. Then this summer I finally got around to putting tin on the backside to protect the spray foam. So as you can see, this project kind of came around in phases, and finally, what did I say, 3 years later, we're at the point where this is turning into a rather efficient process and not gonna take me a whole lot of time to bring in the wood quickly and have it set up just in its spot, ready to go. And it didn't cost me anything to do that either, because the wood for the end walls was just some 2x4s that we had in the barn. All this metal came off an old barn that was on the property. So it was just stacked in a pile, just waiting for use. We used some of it on a couple other sheds around. We used some of it just on top of the wood piles outside to keep the rain and snow off, which works great for that. And so we had a whole stack of this stuff. And we still had a box of roofing nails actually too, so I went and I strapped this wall across it, and then I had to cut the ends off to make them the right height. I just stood them up and nailed them to the strapping. So that project I did this spring after I used up all the wood from last winter, and I did that. That was another weekend project. So that was kind of fun, and it looks really cool. So I hope to use that as a video backdrop somewhat. I haven't really yet, but both the firewood or this kind of rustic, authentic barn roof metal, repurposed, recycled for free, is gonna be really nice. I actually want to take, we've got more of this, and I want to take it and actually lay it on its side. The panels are like 28, 29 inches, so it'll come up from the floor about up to here on the walls, and I want to use that as like kind of a backsplash all the way around the perimeter of the basement, which would be super durable for whatever we're doing down here. This is like a workshop and workspace, so it'd be durable. It'd be waterproof if we splash things, if we're using a hose or whatnot. We do vegetables down here, so that'd be protective. And then everything from here up, I want to do wood. I mean, that's a long-term project, so stay tuned for that one. But that's the next thing I want to do with this tin, is turn it sideways and go all the way around the perimeter. But this year, you know, like I said, we're taking this project in phases, and I just finished getting this wood enclosure completed. So that project's done, and now I'm putting it to use. One thing I have not done is gotten protective outlet covers, so I'll have to be careful when I stack wood around there. Now, what I need to do is, because the tin comes off a little bit, a standard plate didn't fit anymore, so I needed to get a spacer, and then I want to order like the flippable metal outlet covers, so exterior grade, and then that'll look really flush and be protected. Now, that wasn't a priority this spring, and then I forgot about it, and as you can see, here we are. So maybe when I get to this wall again in the spring, or when I do the rest of the tin in the basement, I'll do them all at once. But, you know, projects are never quite 100% complete. Like that screen door over there that is still waiting to be installed. Kabam! That one row out of that second pile is now in the basement. So the pile that was uncovered from the tin is now all picked up and ready to burn inside the house. Now I'm gonna haul a little bit more, but I really got done what I wanted to do today, so now it's just extra credit. So I'm feeling pretty good about this project. There, that is a good evening of work complete. I stacked almost 2 out of the 3 rows of that second pile of wood and completely filled up the first row in the basement. Generally I stack 3 rows down here, which is about 3 cords, so I guess you could say I brought in a cord of wood today. Not bad for an afternoon, and it feels good knowing that like I'm at a good stopping point. It's all filled up, level and square. I hate to leave something undone, at least get to a spot where it looks good. So there I am. Now I can rest easy, and the rest of the wood is still covered should we get some rain. So we're all set until another day when I want to bring in some more. So I hope you enjoyed watching me bring in some wood today, and I'll see you in the next video.